welcome back to the Cover 3 podcast here on CBS Sports. That's Danny Cannell. That's Tom Fornelli. I'm Chip Patterson coming to you live at youtube.com/cover3 and all across the on-demand network, wherever you get your podcasts. And look, we don't even, our sirens are broken because of how many different times they've gone off. We just keep mashing it over and over again. And we don't even have hard news as we're coming to you live at 11 a.m. Eastern time. And all of our headlines have changed, and all of our promotions and all of our rundowns have changed. And the Pac-12 was unable to get its grant of rights signed this morning, according to Brett McMurphy. We don't know if that means that Arizona is going to be off to the Big 12 as it has been expected and widely reported. We don't know if Arizona State, which supposedly was trying to hold this whole thing together, or Utah would end up following as well. We don't know if Oregon and Washington are going to be able to get a Big Ten invite, though the Big Ten presidents have a call scheduled today too. We just thought, since the last time that we had checked in was Wednesday, that it would be important to get connected with you, the audience, with the latest on what we have and what we think. With all that being confusing as hell, yes. Danny, which of these threads do you want to pull on first? Because I think the only certainty thing, I do think in our 24/7 Sports, Jason Scheer has done really, really good job reporting on the Arizona side of things. He is reporting that Arizona coaches have been informed we're Big 12 bound. Unless anything is crazy is going to happen. Dennis Dodd has it as a hard lean. Pete Thamel has it as expected to go through. If Arizona had signed the grant of rights this morning, that would have been the about face that I think would have surprised me. Since the Pac-12 was unable to get it signed, I'm expecting that at some point today, we might get some Arizona to Big 12. Are you as confident in that?
So just to give you a little picture of what happened this morning, I was doing the radio show. Chris Budden with ESPN, she was in for Dusty. He was out, and we went off the air at 9. And the last segment's what do you think we're talking about on Monday? And it's crazy because we both were probably the demolition of the Pac-12. I mean, that's where we were. Everyone was up till this morning when some of the latest breaking news broke. And, she texted me and she's like, I can't believe we're off the air and it looks like the Pac-12 might be saved, which kind of feels like now because that's where I was 2 hours ago. Oregon, Washington, Big Ten, maybe the 4 corner schools going to the Big 12. And the Mountain West, not the Pac-12 consumes the Mountain West. The Mountain West consumes the Pac-12. George Kliavkoff's gone, and you've got this new West Coast entity in the Mountain West Conference. That's how wild this is. It's almost impossible to catch up to. And here, you mentioned the coaches that Arizona being told they're going to go to the Big 12. They're probably doing the same thing we are, refreshing their feeds, looking for confirmation of anything, because I think they don't even know, which is a really tough spot to be in. So I'll go with you guys. I think Arizona probably going, but until you get it from a reputable source, all we're doing is speculating. And a lot of this stuff, even from reputable sources, and you guys know this better than anyone, some of these are planted seeds of, hey, make them think we're going. Boy, it looks like we're going. And then so you get that other side to get a little bit more desperate, a little bit antsy. Last thing, I'll let you guys get the word. If George Kliavkoff pulls this off and saves the Pac-12, he goes from, the GOAT, not the GOAT Messi or Brady, but the GOAT of, saving this conference potentially on the verge of extinction. So I think there's his legacy at stake and the future of college football. It's wild times.
I went to bed last night and I was up on my phone scrolling Twitter until 1 a.m. just because of all the stuff that was happening. And Washington was having an executive meeting. I just was all right, I got to keep track of what's going to happen. So I was on Twitter just scrolling, following, getting yelled at by Big 12 fans. And then I wake up this morning and I open Twitter again and the Pac-12 is suddenly saved. And it's okay, but Arizona still might be going. Arizona might not be going. Oregon and Washington are staying in the Pac-12, but now Oregon and Washington, the situation remains fluid. I thought I was being cute. I wore a Colorado hat with an Arizona shirt. I thought for the topic of today's show, it was just kind of, funny, stupid, but I don't know what's happening. And also, if the Pac-12 does sign the grant of rights, it'll depend on how long it is and how ironclad it is. But I feel like this would, if you quote unquote save the Pac-12 now, I don't know if you're saving it long term, if you're just kind of saving it for a little bit, Will it be kind of like the ACC situation where you lock everybody up for over a decade? Maybe. I don't know. But it is the oddest situation to follow, and I truly have no idea what is happening. All I know is that I don't want Oregon and Washington to go to the Big Ten. I didn't want USC and UCLA in the Big Ten. So I hope they stay. I hope the Pac-12 survives. I think the variety of conferences in this sport is part of what makes this sport so intriguing and entertaining for the country at large, because it's all different varieties of what you're into. The SEC is a different style of football than the Big Ten. The Big Ten is a different style of football than the Big 12, from the Pac-12, from everything, for what the goals are of the schools in the conference, what the style of play is, it's just everything is more interesting with all of this. And the more you just kind of put it together in one large homogenized product, the more vanilla the sport gets. And I don't think that's good long term.
That is, I think that I've fast forwarded past that to like the cold reality of sort of where this is going. And I mentioned this to you, Tom, like, I think that our show is well suited to deal with a future that doesn't have as much, because we talk about every team. Like, we haven't backed ourselves into one corner. We talk about all these teams. There are not a lot of places where you can find knowledgeable insight, entertainment, and analysis on 60 to 90 college football teams. And that's where we operate. So it doesn't matter what conference they're in, as long as, they're still existing with coaches and players and going out there and playing on Saturdays. I think that we're going to be able to cover this, but it is a little bit disappointing from someone who does believe that, having the game on Saturday be against someone who you go to church with, or who you are a coworker with, or, somebody who lives down the road from you. Having the regionality is something that I've always thought was super important. But somebody
played for the last 100 years, or the last 50 years, like a rivalry that's just been traditional. And I think that's probably the biggest. And like Jake Dickert at Washington State, he was, out yesterday saying this is the ruin of college football. We all wondered when TV money was going to destroy it. And of course, where he is, that's your perspective, because Washington State is just hoping to be a part of the upper tier of college football. And it probably looks like they're on the outside looking in. So there's your perspective there. I also think we talk about things from a college football's perspective, obviously, but I do wonder the impact of what this means for the non-revenue sports. And that, to me, is what could be more destructive than anything. I think college football at the top 50 programs is going to be fine. We're going to watch it. Does it look different? Yeah, but it'll survive. Some of these other non-revenue sports, I don't know what the heck the future holds for them.
I mean, look at the Pac-12. The Pac-12 is renowned for being great at all those non-revenue kind of Olympic sports. And we could be wiping that conference from the face of the earth, which will have a tremendous impact on those sports and on the futures for a lot of kids right now who would possibly use those sports to get a college degree, but they don't matter anymore.
Do you think that the reason why we're getting all this back and forth, let's focus on that Oregon-Washington part of this, is because the Big Ten is not going to give them a full share right off the bat, and they're basically negotiating what the discounted price is on being able to get Oregon and Washington into the conference, and they've each got their own sources, and they're leaking out this, little bits because, Brett McMurphy 5 minutes ago, Pac-12 unable to get grant of rights signed, and quote, nothing has changed. Ducks and Huskies still expected to be Big Ten bound when finances are worked out, sources said. I mean, you mentioned George Kliavkoff saving the Pac-12. I thought that Oregon had a chance to save the Pac-12. If Oregon had stepped up at that meeting and said, all right, boys, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, got university presidents, we got all sorts of, the whole spectrum covered. But if they'd said, let's get this done. Let's sign this Apple deal. Maybe it's a short deal, right? Maybe you say like, we're only going to do a 6-year deal so that we're up in 2030 about the same time that we expect the next round of negotiations and realignment. There was an opportunity there for Oregon to step up and do that. If Oregon and Washington, things, flip, flop, snip, snap, like going back and forth, if that does continue to push, then if you're Arizona State and Utah, then you just jump on board with Arizona on the way to the Big 12, right?
Probably. I don't know. Who knows?
That's come on. Give us a hot take. Come on, tell us what's happening. So we can look foolish on Monday.
I'll tell you what's happening. All right. I don't know how many of our fellow industry types listen to this show or watch this show, but maybe we don't have to tweet every text we get from somebody. Maybe let's just gather multiple information from multiple sources before we put out a tweet and respond to every single thing we get. So we don't have a morning like this one where the Pac-12 has gone from saved to dying to saved to dying, all within the span of an hour and a half. Just a thought.
Well, it's, the back and forth. You know what's happening to the reporters is they're getting all the positive feedback on it. It's really, really tough to be able to not shut that part of your brain off. I mean, Danny, you love that dopamine hit when that engagement comes.
Oh yeah.
when you're starting to see the stats fly, and that's certainly what's going to happen whenever any of these reporters have their little nuggets on the deal. So I don't know. Go ahead.
I'm just, what I'm waiting for is people in Tallahassee might feel a little left out. All these rumors this morning. When's that one coming in the feed? Because it's only feels like a matter of time, and they've been very vocal.
Can we talk about JP Morgan Chase? You saw that? You
mentioned Jake Dickert saying how when will TV money destroy college football? Well, the good news for Jake Dickert is that it's no longer TV money destroying college football. Thanks to Florida State, it will be private equity money destroying college football.
So there's two ways to read that, and it's a story, I believe, in Sportico, right? Yeah. Story in Sportico.
But Bud's been talking about it for like a week.
That Florida State is exploring using, they're talking to JP Morgan Chase, and they're exploring private equity as a way to finance the athletic department. And it can be read two ways. It can be read you're going to finance the buyout out of the ACC, or they are going to use an influx of cash to be able to help close that gap with the teams and the programs and the schools in the Big Ten and in the SEC. Florida State already spends more on its athletic department than anyone else in the ACC, and is one of the larger budgets throughout all of higher college athletics. Danny, do you don't have any insight on this, do you?
No, I don't have any sources, intel. I am in contact with Michael Alford. I know the desire, and they haven't been shy about it. Like, he doesn't tell me anything different than he tells in the Board of Regents meeting, which is going to be made public to everyone. My biggest thing is Florida State using the, public, using the microphone and the coverage to try. I think they clearly are trying to push the ACC and the ESPN deal to somehow rework it, and that's their ultimate goal? Or is it just they really do want to explore these options? And both are probably true. I think their preference would be ACC figures it out, whether it's through addition, alliance, and it's a rough term to use, especially considering the way the last alliance worked. But I think that would be their preference. Like, the Jim Phillips steps up, ESPN steps up, and there's some sort of salvage to the situation. But I do think they firmly believe it is not sustainable for the long term that Florida State stays in the ACC with this disparity. So they are actively looking at everything. I don't know how viable the options are, even with private equity money coming in. How expensive is it? How much are you financing? How quickly could you pay it back? That to me is the massive number, and what nobody truly knows. Not only the number, but can you fight your way out? Can you take them to court and get out of the media rights angle?
To me, I think it's dangerous too. And I don't just mean like existentially to the sport. I think for Florida State, it's dangerous. If you have a private equity investment into your program, they're going to expect a profit in return. It's not like a booster just donating money to build a new athletic facility who's not asking for anything but maybe his name on the building and to feel important. Private equity funds aren't going in there just to lose money. They're trying to make money. They're seeing it as an investment. So if they put all this money in to help Florida State, whether it's to get out of the grant of rights or to do whatever they feel like they have to do to compete for national titles, we've all seen what private equity funds do to newspapers once it stops being profitable. They strip them and sell them for parts, and they move on. If they do this for Florida State and they do not get the kind of returns that they want, and they have a financial stake in the program, they won't be any different with Florida State than they have been with every other company or institution that they have invested in. They will strip it and sell it for parts to get as much money back out of it as they possibly can. And I think it's a bad precedent to set for the sport as a whole, because again, it's just another step towards professionalizing college football as a whole. Now athletic programs are just becoming professional organizations and franchises. And this is a step toward that.
I mean, it would be revolutionary, and I don't mean that in a good or bad way. I mean, it would be something that we have only seen at the professional level, and even at the professional level, not very frequently. It's like I have to go to La Liga to go and pull some of these examples, to be able to put them all together in terms of places where this has happened. The way that I understand it is that the return would come in the form of future media rights and sponsorships. So the money that is being paid by the company that is going to be the title sponsor in the stadium of something, that money is going to end up going back, essentially, the way that I understand it, to kind of pay off a loan. And that these Big Ten checks or these SEC checks, you're going to have to pay back some of that to be able to pay off this influx of cash. I think that you would do this to be able to get out of the ACC. And then that's what you're pitching in terms of the investment. You were pitching to investors that we've got guaranteed earnings that are going to come in at this number, this number, this number until 2030. The place where it's really, really dangerous, to your point, Tom, is you're guessing that also that means the next media rights deal is going to come up. Because I'll tell you what what I think the number would be. I think that it's obviously $120 million for the exit fee, and then the grant of rights, we can assign a prediction to it. Let's say it's $500 million. And let's say that in court, it's like lawsuit. Here's our argument. Okay, we're going to settle. And the settlement number is $350 million. And let's say that the $350 million is financed by private equity, and we're showing what we're going to earn from this, Big Ten or SEC deal. And that's how we're going to end up paying you back. Plus we'll get sponsorships. Okay. Yada, yada, yada. That would be $27 million per member school for the ACC. Is Florida State going to fix the ACC's money problems as it's trying to buy out a big conference? The wouldn't it be hilarious twist of this all is the idea that a $30 million
That's like, damn, Chip's throwing a lot of numbers at me right now. I'm not sure where this is going.
Yeah. I got $350 million out to about $27 million per school. And I was like, that's the $30 million gap. Now, it wouldn't be over a year. That would be just one-time payment. I'm sure that they would come up with some sort of payment plan for it. But that's why, North Carolina Athletic Director Bubba Cunningham was popping off yesterday. Said, fine, leave, do it. Just drop the check, and then we'll be fine. Because Florida State leaving and having to pay the grant of rights would fix some, not all, but some of the money issues in the ACC. And that would be hilarious.
What would Bubba say if Florida State left and then the Big Ten called?
He might say yes. I don't know. I think it is their desire. I don't know this. I don't want to speak
fun,
for,
isn't it? Isn't this just
you were going to say their desire that the ACC is salvaged, don't you?
Yes.
And that there's,
yes.
I mean, I do think that's what Florida State, Clemson, Miami, I think everybody would love to see things survive, but they know that you can't survive with this current deal. And they're looking at every possible option. Do we mention the thing that you said before we came on air?
Which thing?
The speculation about the Pac-12 and ACC? Because I haven't seen that. Did you guys have that report?
Here,
because I always, when I say that is, Jim Phillips said on last Thursday after ACC Media Days, I am, he didn't say we're open for business. That was Yormark, but he said something similar, like we're looking at exhausting all options. Of the options, that to me doesn't, like, if you're looking to create value, that would be a way to create value. If you have some sort of alignment, agreement, deal with the Pac-12.
So again, Jason Shear, terrific job. About half an hour ago, there was discussion of Pac-12 and ACC trying to help each other through some merger. And what I was describing before we came on the air is that when I have heard that gamed out, it has been more of a content share than a true merger. Like, we're not going to build a conference schedule of the ACC and the Pac-12 playing each other in two different divisions. It would be more of the ACC network is where, and Jim Phillips has said this, if you want to know where more money can come from, as ESPN is going through some financial issues and Disney's not sure what it wants to do with ESPN, and obviously the ACC has everything wrapped up. Well, the ACC and ESPN are both 50% owners in the ACC network. So if the ACC network is more profitable, that is revenue that is not in the budget. That is revenue that you're not asking ESPN to spend more. And the way that I had heard it gamed out and explained is that if you would bring in the Pac-12 through some sort of partnership, you might be able to make the ACC network more profitable with more live sporting events, less infomercials, less repeats of the awesome ACC tournament documentary, and also a West Coast presence, which would help with the distribution. So I don't know if that's – wait, go ahead.
I think I just solved – I just took a piece of paper. I think I solved all our problems. Okay, you ready? For the ACC. Ready? How does this read?
Pac-24.
There you go. Bam. There's all your problems solved right there. Branding, perfect right there.
Danny Cannell, the face of the Pac-24. All right. So this again, we're trying to give as much as we can. Look, we weren't.
So who do we think is going to win the Big 12 this year?
Texas. Jason Shear says sources indicate to Wildcat Authority that Washington is very concerned with the Apple deal. Arizona and Arizona State are still on track to join the Big 12. Arizona State President Michael Crow is proving to be a stumbling block, but parties involved are confident it can be overcome. So Arizona and Arizona State to the Big 12, and the Big 10 is fighting with Oregon and Washington over how much of a discount they're going to have.
And how long ago is this? Because I haven't looked at Twitter in 5 minutes, so God knows what's happened since.
The Washington is very concerned about the Apple deal is 10 minutes ago.
Okay. And then the Big 10 presidents are currently scheduled for a meeting.
Yeah.
That's
which
not
wasn't
new
scheduled
news, though,
this
is it?
morning.
We've known Oregon is not – no one's happy with the Apple deal, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's true. That's true. But that's like why you would walk away. And there was one wrinkle of this that was like Apple said the deal expires at the end of the week. They spent
super villain move.
Yeah, they spent like 7 or 8 months trying to get this thing together. It's like, this will expire by the end.
Apple read the art of the deal. It's like, here's an offer, but it expires on Saturday. But Danny, I mean, we've got a person on this show who knows how easy it is to convince somebody to subscribe to something on Apple.
Yeah. I mean, I went to see Messi, and what's part of his compensation? It is tied to how many subscribers sign up for the MLS season package, which I wasn't even aware. I just thought it was free on Apple TV and like Amazon Prime with the NFL. You just sign up to the service and you get it. So I go to Messi the other night and blown away. We were there 6 rows up from his sick goal that he had in the first half, 7 minutes in the game. We leave the game, and my 11-year-old daughter, she's like, hey, can we watch the game on the way home? So I pull up. I'm like, yeah, let's do it. Let's watch it. It'd be great. So we pull up, open Apple TV, and there's a little red button. It's like live event. I'm like, sweet. Put it, and it says, subscribe. So I'm sitting there, I'm like making that decision. Do I do it or do I not do it? My daughter, she looks up at me and she's like, I really want to watch second half. We can watch the rest of the League Cup, which I didn't even know was a thing. And so I find myself, I hit the subscribe. Messi got me I am not, you guys know this, I'm a big soccer guy now, but a week ago I was not. And it's all because of Messi. He got me to sign up. And we were talking before the show, can't you just picture an Oregon State fan driving home from Corvallis after the game saying, whoa, what a game we had versus Washington State. I got to see the rest of these. And when Boise State comes into the league, whoo, we got to get that. We got to sign up.
They don't have they need Messi in the Pac-12.
They need everything they can get. They ain't got a Messi, that's for sure.
We need Cristiano Ronaldo and Messi. We need David Beckham to come back out and just lace him up because it's going to be a tough sell for this add-on product right now. Anything else we want to? I know that like we can't sit around all day and wait for all these meetings. I thought it would be valuable for us to get together, sort of feel out where we are and where we think this is going. So,
would you guys do me a favor?
Yeah,
because it's weekends, like one of our last free weekends, right before we have to work and have to watch. I don't want to be attached to my phone. I'm trying to get out, play some golf with the family. Took off the afternoon radio. Will you guys text me if something meaningful happens? Yes. I don't want to have to. I don't. Our subscriber list, we should have that available service for our listeners, where they don't have to go and fall for every fake report, every news item, every rumor. Just let me know when it happens. Mm-hmm. Now, should we get out some logistics out of the way?
Although I might be golfing myself at some point here in the near future.
So. What is now? This is kind of, we're just gonna have some behind the scenes stuff here. What is worthy of another emergency pod before Monday? Anything?
Oregon and Washington to the Big 10.
Okay.
All right, I'll see you in a few hours.
You really
Only if it's tomorrow, right? Or is that if like, are we going to do double? Has there ever been a double emergency pod in one day?
Yes.
We
What
had-
was it for though? It
We
was,
finished- We
Yeah.
finished the regular episode, and then as soon as we were done, we got like news Tom Herman had been fired from Texas or something like that.
Yeah.
So we just jumped right back on. On Sunday morning, my younger son is getting baptized, and I have played out in my mind that there's going to be a Godfather moment.
Yes.
I'm up there as they're pouring the water over his head. The ACC is falling apart, and someone kicks in the door on the Pac-12 with a sawed off, ready to go. And I'm going to be walking down the steps, and I will emerge into a new world. And then I'll get back to my office, and I'll cut on my lights. And Parker and all of her family will be standing there. I say, "Don't ask me about my business, Parker." Shut the door and go right into emergency podcast and CBS Sports HQ and everything that's happening. So I would prefer for my Sunday morning that this be handled before then, as a matter of preference.
I would prefer we just wait until like February. Like the season is literally starting in a couple of weeks, and we're doing this. It's annoying beyond belief.
And we've made the joke, right? Like they can't talk about tampering again, right?
No.
Like you can't complain about the transfer portal and tampering. You are ripping apart college conferences with backroom deals. I'm sorry that the wide receivers coach of your rival decided to slide into your players' DMs, but this is far more significant.
We've got schools begging politicians in Congress to help them solve NIL, which is, tearing the sport apart while they're doing this. It's like, come on.
Dude. Yeah, exactly. It is not lost on me. Is not lost on me at all. All right. So Danny, Tom, thank you so much for taking some time. I felt like we needed a refresher. Wednesday's news didn't feel like today's news. Whether today's news will hold through today, we will see. But I'd say if Oregon and Washington go to the Big Ten, we'll try to hop back on to really address that and sort of see what the fallout is from that. And you can't. Oh yeah, got more.
Like and subscribe, because if you don't want to sit around and look at your phone all day, if you subscribe, you'll get that alert to get those sirens in your feed, so you don't have to do it. So make sure you like and subscribe.
Hey, look at Chad here. Chad looking out for our families. Agree. No need for emergency podcast. Spend time with your families. You can react to any news on Monday.
How do you know our families want to spend time with us, Chad?
All right. And you can follow him on Twitter at Danny Cannell. You can follow him at Tom Fernell. You can follow me at Chip_Patterson. Gentlemen, thank you very much.
Everybody stay calm.